the person right before we get started, just for a few minutes, and then we just launch right into the arraignment. But no worries.
And we can do that as well if that works. I'll do that one last, and then I'll call language line.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
No problem. I don't know where the jail is. I'm still waiting for him to come on.
However, she signed it, huh? Yes.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can, Your Honor, and the subject that we were talking about that we thought needed an interpreter, from my understanding, is able to understand enough. So he's in the room with us to be arraigned today.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Okay, on the record in the matter, the people of the state of Michigan versus Xavier Jimenez. And this is in file number 24-00760, council appearance.
Good morning, Your Honor. Jacob Sarts IV appearing on behalf of Mr. Jimenez for this appearance and this limited appearance only. Thank you.
Thank you. And you're Xavier Jimenez?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I have a felony complaint that you're going to be arraigned on. It states here that on or about March 15th, 2024, at the area of 1907 New York Ave, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, that you did allegedly, contrary to law, commit the act in count 1 of weapons, firearms discharge from a vehicle. The allegations are that you did intentionally discharge a firearm from a motor vehicle in a manner as to endanger the safety of another, contrary to Michigan compiled law 750.234A1. Count 1 is a felony with a maximum penalty 10 years in prison and or $10,000 in fines, and there's a mandatory forfeiture of the weapon or device required under the law. Count 2 is weapons carrying concealed. It alleges that you did carry a dangerous weapon, that being a pistol, whether concealed or otherwise in a vehicle operated or occupied by said defendant, that being a black Buick Regal, and that this was done contrary to Michigan compiled law 750.227. Count 2 is a felony with the maximum penalty 5 years in prison or $2,500 in fines, and there's a mandatory forfeiture of the weapon or device required under the law. Count 3 is charged as an assault with a dangerous weapon, also known as felonious assault. It states that you did allegedly make an assault upon a Hector Posadas Zavala with a dangerous weapon, that being a pistol, but without intending to commit the crime of murder or to inflict great bodily harm less than the crime of murder. That's contrary to Michigan compiled law 750.82. Count 3 is a felony with the maximum penalty being 4 years and or $2,000 in fines. Your DNA is to be taken upon arrest, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Counts 4 and 5 both are charged as weapons felony firearm. They allege that you did carry or have on your person a firearm, that being a pistol, at the time in count 4 that you committed the attempted to commit the felony of weapons firearm discharge from a vehicle, and in count 5 at the time that you committed or attempted to commit the felony of assault with a dangerous weapon, also felonious assault. And that is contrary to Michigan compiled law 750.227B. Both counts 4 and 5 are felonies. Maximum penalties are 2 years in each count 4 and 5 consecutively with and preceding any term of imprisonment imposed for the felony or attempted felony conviction. Also, there's a mandatory forfeiture of the weapon or device required under the law. Do you understand the counts read through counts 1 through 5 and the maximum penalty in each count?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you have the right to be represented by counsel. Mr. Sarts is representing you today solely for the purposes of your arraignment, but you do have the right to be represented by counsel at each stage of your criminal prosecution. And you have the right to be represented by counsel if you're questioned by law enforcement. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, you can make a request to have the public defender's office appointed to represent you at the expense of the public. You understand your right to counsel?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you have the right to remain silent. Anything that you say and anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You can plead not guilty, or you can stand mute. If you stand mute, this matter will proceed all the way through to your jury trial. You have the right to have a preliminary examination in this matter because you're being charged with felonies. You have the right to have the preliminary examination within 21 days of today's date being the date that you're arraigned. That timeline of 21 days can only be adjusted if you waive that 21 days yourself, or if the court finds good cause to go beyond the 21-day timeline. At the time of your preliminary examination, you have the right to require the prosecution meet their burden of establishing that they have sufficient probable cause that a crime was committed, and then probable cause sufficient to charge you with the crimes. Do you have any questions about your probable cause conference or your preliminary examination?
No, ma'am.
You're currently scheduled for probable cause conference before me, Judge Kristen Simmons. It's scheduled for March 28th at 1:30 p.m. You can appear via Zoom or in person. If you appear via Zoom, you must have video and you must be sitting stationary, ready to proceed with the court proceeding. Your preliminary examination will be in person at the court, April 5th, 2024 at 8:30 in the morning. Did you get your notice to appear and the Zoom instructions for my courtroom?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you have the right in this matter to proceed to trial. You have the right again to a jury trial. You have the right to the presumption of innocence. So you're innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to require the prosecutor prove your guilt at a trial. They have to prove each element of the charge or charges being brought against you beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to see, hear, or question any other witnesses the prosecution intends to call against you. You have the right to call your own witnesses to trial, or you can present evidence at trial that you believe show a defense to the charge being brought against you. You can waive your right to silence at your trial and testify on your own behalf. But again, you have the right to remain silent at your trial and not have silence be used against you. Do you have any questions about those rights?
No, ma'am.
Is he requesting court-appointed counsel, Mr. Sartz?
Thank you, Your Honor. Based on Mr. Jimenez's self-reported income, he makes too much money to qualify, but he's free to reapply with our office if his financial circumstances change. And respectfully, I would request that Mr. Jimenez stand mute and the court enter a plea of not guilty on his behalf. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so he has attempted to make a request for court-appointed counsel, but your determination is that he would not qualify.
Based on his self-reported income, and I'm relying on what Mr. Jimenez is telling me about his income, he would make too much money to qualify. However, he's free to reapply if those circumstances change. And our office would certainly be happy to talk to him in the future if he's unable to hire a retained attorney.
Okay. Mr. Jimenez, are you currently employed?
Yes, ma'am.
Where are you employed?
It's called Spar. It's a merchandise company. I do resets at stores.
Okay. What's your home address?
4461 Davlin, DAVLIND Drive, apartment 3.
What city is that in?
Holt, Michigan.
What's your phone number?
517 693 or 66 or 936. Sorry, 9911.
Okay, start that over.
517 936 9911.
Are you currently on probation or on parole?
No, ma'am.
Have you ever missed court or a court date in the past?
Hey, you said what? I didn't hear you, ma'am.
Have you ever missed court in the past if you've had any prior interaction with the criminal justice system?
No, ma'am. I never had a court before.
Okay. Counsel, you can address bond.
Thank you, Your Honor. Respectfully, based on Mr. Jimenez's lack of a criminal history, well, that's how he self-reports it. Given that he has a stable place to stay, a steady job, can provide a good income based on his age. And respectfully, while the allegations are quite serious here, I would still request the court consider perhaps a personal recognizance bond for him with a high dollar amount. I believe the court's concerns about public safety, safety for the complaining witness, safety for the community could be addressed through the use of tether monitoring or other alternatives. He's not a flight risk. He appears to have a good, stable place to stay. And given the circumstances, I would ask for a personal recognizance bond if he's eligible. If he's not, a low cash bond with the use of GPS tether or other monitoring devices. Thank you.
Okay, I do have a bond report here from Ingham County Prosecutor's Office, highlighting some concerns. That being the protection of the public under MCLA 765.6, because these crimes alleged involve crimes of violence towards another person, as well as the crimes being charged involve possession and use of a firearm. I recognize that the defendant does not have any prior criminal history, but he is now facing 5 felony charges, serious charges, and allegations of some assaultive action. With that being said, I think that a personal recognizance bond is not sufficient to ensure the safety of the public. So the court will issue a cash surety bond in the amount of 10,000 cash surety with GPS tether. While out on bond, you have the following conditions. There will be a no contact order in place for the protection of the alleged victim in this matter, Hector Posadas Zavala. You're not to have contact directly or indirectly with him. Do you understand what indirect contact means?
Yes, ma'am.
So you can't have anybody contact him on your behalf. You can't send any communication of any kind to Mr. Zavala. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
You're not to be within 1,500 feet of wherever Mr. Zavala is. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Also, while out on bond, you're not to possess, purchase, or use a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You cannot travel outside the state without first getting approval of the court. You're not to use, purchase, or possess alcohol. Although you're underage, I don't see that it's being an issue, but you're not to use, purchase, or possess alcohol or drugs without a valid prescription. And you need to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of your release. Again, you're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior while on bond. Do you have any questions about your bond at this time?
No, ma'am.
Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Thank you. You're all set, sir. On the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Dane Garfield Kemp. Counsel appearance.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Jacob Sarge, the Fourth Assistant Public Defender, appearing on behalf of Mr. Kent for this limited appearance. Thank you.
Okay, are you Dane Kemp? Okay. Today's the date and time that's set for a arraignment. I have a felony complaint. It alleges that on or about March 15th, 2024, at the area of 2027 Pleasant View Avenue, that's in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, that you did allegedly, contrary to law, commit the act in count 1 of assault with intent to do great bodily harm, less than murder or by strangulation. It alleges that you did make an assault upon a Rachel White with the intent to do great bodily harm, less than the crime of murder. And this is contrary to MCL 750.84. Count 1 is a felony, maximum penalty, 10 years in prison or $5,000 in fines. Your DNA is to be taken upon arrest, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. In the alternative to count 1, you're charged in count 2 with assault with a dangerous weapon, that being a felonious assault. It alleges that you did make an assault upon a Rachel White with a dangerous weapon, that being a knife and or stabbing or cutting implement, but without intending to commit the crime of murder or to inflict great bodily harm less than the crime of murder. This is contrary to MCL 750.82. Count 2 is a felony with the maximum penalty 4 years and or $2,000 in fines. Again, your DNA is to be taken upon arrest, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. There is, let's see here. Count 3, domestic violence. It alleges that you did make an assault or assault and battery upon a Rachel White, a resident or former resident of your household, or an individual with whom you had a dating relationship, and that this is contrary to Michigan compiled law 750.812. That's a misdemeanor. The maximum penalty is 93 days in jail and or $500 in fines. A consecutive sentence may be imposed under MCL 750.506A if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. There is a habitual offender fourth offense notice. It says, take notice that the defendant was previously convicted of 3 or more felonies or attempts to commit felonies in that order about February 3rd, 1992. He was convicted of the offense of breaking and entering with intent in violation of MCL 750.110 in the 30th Circuit Court for Ingham County, State of Michigan. And that on or about September 24th, 1998, he was convicted of the offense of retail fraud in the first degree in violation of MCL 750.356C in the 56th Circuit Court for Eaton County, State of Michigan. And that on or about August 4th, 2015, he was convicted of the offense of police officer assault resist obstructing, attempted in violation of MCL 750.81D1A in the 25th District Court of Wayne County, State of Michigan. Therefore, defendant is subject to the penalties provided in MCL 769.12 that enhances the penalties of life if the primary offense has a penalty of 5 years or more, or 15 years or less if the primary offense has a penalty under 5 years. The maximum penalty cannot be less than the maximum term for the first conviction. Do you understand the charge and the maximum penalty as well as the habitual offender fourth offense notice? Mr. Kemp?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. You have the right to be represented by counsel. Mr. Sarge is going to represent you today for your arraignment only, but you do have the right to be represented by an attorney at every court appearance during the prosecution of this matter, and you have the right to have an attorney represent you if you're questioned by law enforcement. If you can't afford to hire an attorney, you can make a request for the public defender's office to be representing you at the expense of the public. You understand your right to counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Is he requesting court-appointed counsel, Mr. Sartz?
Yes, Your Honor. And respectfully, we request that the court enter a plea of not guilty on his behalf, and Mr. Kemp will stand mute. Thank you.
The court will enter a plea of not guilty at this time. Mr. Kemp, you have the right to remain silent. Anything that you say and anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You can plead not guilty or you can stand mute. If you stand mute, the matter will continue all the way through to a trial. You have the right in this matter to have a preliminary examination because you are being charged with a felony in count 1 and count 2. At the time of your preliminary examination, you have the right to require the prosecutor put forth evidence to establish if they have sufficient probable cause that a crime was committed, and then probable cause sufficient to charge you with those crimes. You have the right to have that preliminary examination within 21 days of today's date, unless you waive that timeline or the court finds good cause to go beyond that 21 days. You're currently scheduled for probable cause conference before Judge Stacia Buchanan, March 28, 2024 at 9:30 in the morning. You may appear via Zoom or in person for that. Your preliminary examination is before Judge Buchanan. It's scheduled for April 4th, 2024 at 8:30 in the morning. You should have received your notice to appear and Zoom instructions for Judge Buchanan. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You have the right to the presumption of innocence. So you're innocent until proven guilty, and you have the right to require the prosecutor prove your guilt at a trial by proving each element of the charge being brought against you beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to cross-examine and confront in court any witness called to testify against you. You have the right to remain silent at your trial and not have silence be used against you. You can waive your right to silence and testify, or you can have witnesses subpoenaed on your behalf to give testimony at your trial, or you can present evidence at your trial that you believe show a defense to the charge being brought against you. Do you have any questions about those rights?
Oh, Your Honor.
Are you currently employed?
No, I'm on disability.
What's your home address?
2027 Pleasant View Avenue, Lansing, Michigan, 48910.
What's your phone number?
Can't remember. With 313, I can't remember.
Is that address the address of the alleged victim?
Give me your. Will you say that
Does
part?
Rachel White live at this address?
Yeah, she does. She's my
Okay, well, you
caretaker.
won't- Okay, well,
My
you will not be able to reside at that address with her during the pendency of this matter. So where are you going to stay?
Because I understand that, Your Honor.
Excuse me?
I understand. I understand what you. I think I understand what you're saying, Your Honor.
Okay. Yeah. So where are you going to stay? Because you won't be able to stay at the 2027 Pleasant View if that's where she lives.
Okay. Not sure. Because that, that was when I lived there for like the last 2 years, and that was my caretaker. So I stuck there.
I'm struggling to understand what he's saying.
What I'm trying to say, Your Honor, is that that's my caretaker, and that's why I lived there.
Right, the judge is asking you the address from the state. Friend, cousin, relative.
Another address.
I need an address of where you're planning to stay because you can't stay where the victim stays.
Okay.
If you don't know,
Excuse me.
I don't know why it seems to be going in and out. Mr. Sarge, does it sound muffled to you?
Well, Your Honor, respectfully, Mr. Kemp has some speech difficulties, but yes, I have had some issues with the audio as well. So,
Okay. I'm just trying to see if it's my audio or if it's an issue with the communication. Okay, I'll note here that you're currently unsure as to where you're going to stay. You will be required to provide the court with a valid address before you could be released.
Right. Right now. Okay.
Have you missed court in the past?
No,
Never?
I'm not sure either. It's been a long time. It's been a long time since I've been in trouble.
I'm having audio.
It's been a long
I'm having-
time since.
It's been a long time.
A long time since I've been in trouble.
If I can't hear what's being said, that means that the recorder can't pick it up either. So I don't know if there's an audio issue with the jail because it doesn't sound like it's picking up what he's saying.
But
Kim, you gotta speak up, okay?
what's that?
You gotta speak up a little louder so she can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, excuse me, man, because I have a few psychological issues as far as speaking and slurring, because I have a serious concussion. By playing football for all these years. I've been diagnosed with dementia. I got lack of memory, so to a neurologist. And, yeah, I mean, I can't, what was the question again?
I asked if you had missed court in the past, but you said it's been a while. So that's okay. Counsel, you can address bond.
Yeah, yeah, if you have my record, last time I was in prison, out at corrections facility, I don't know, maybe early 2000.
You're okay.
Okay, I'm fine.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it. I'm trying, it's kind of making me kind of rattle.
You're okay, man. Just give it a minute.
Thank you, Mr. Kemp. Respectfully, Your Honor, I would ask the court to consider a low cash bond or a personal recognizance bond for Mr. Kemp. It's very clear that he has some quite complicated issues that perhaps he would be best treated if he can get access to facilities on the outside rather than being potentially in a situation where he's in jail. He is on permanent disability. He is not a flight risk at all. I'll make sure that he shows up for all his future court dates. This issue with this caretaker, he's presumed innocent, of course. Perhaps down the road, that situation could be resolved in a way where Mr. Kemp can find different housing. It certainly appears that once he's released, he can perhaps facilitate that. But in the meantime, Your Honor, respectfully, I would just ask for a personal recognizance bond or low cash bond on behalf of Mr. Kemp. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I reviewed his prior criminal history, which obviously, which is inherent by the way this matter was charged. He does have a considerable criminal history, and these charges are allegations of assaultive and threatening behavior against someone who he identifies as a caretaker. He's also before the court. He can't give me his phone number. He can't provide me with an address as to where he's going to be. His last response to my questions presented it for him problematic. He forgot what the question was in the midst of some mumbling on my end because I couldn't understand what was being stated. It wasn't being stated intelligible for the court to understand. So a couple of things, that is a concern for me. There's also a bond recommendation from the Ingham County Prosecutor's Office, of course, indicating that they have a concern about the protection to the public under MCLA 765.6 because the crimes alleged involve violence towards another person, and then that the allegations involve an incident that is described as a stabbing to another individual who is currently being treated at Sparrow. It states here, the early investigation also revealed that Mr. Kemp called a friend and acknowledged the injuries he inflicted on the victim and demonstrated a consciousness of the guilt. Their recommendation is for $55,000 cash surety with a protective order for the victim. I believe he needs to have a CATS evaluation. So I am going to remand him for a CATS evaluation. And once that evaluation comes back, he can then be released on a bond of $55,000 cash surety.
Your Honor, may I say something?
You may not. When I asked you questions, you weren't able to answer them legibly. And you can't even give me your phone number, but once you found out what the bond was, you can now say something. I think it's in your best interest to remain silent. I think your attorney asked you to stand mute, actually. And I think that's in your best interest, okay?
I don't want to go back there anyway.
Okay, Mr. Kemp, thank you. Mr. Kemp.
I don't want to go back to
Mr. Kemp.
227 anyway.
Mr. Kemp, please, just
Yeah.
thank you. You're going to be released. They're just going to evaluate you first. You're going to get a CATS evaluation, then you're going to be released. And when you get released, make sure you contact the court and contact us with your updated personal information. Understand?
Yes, sir, I got
You just need an evaluation first. So thank you. And you're all set for today, okay?
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
All right.
On the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Frederick Lee Kemp. File number is 19-01600FY. Council appearance.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Jacob Sartz IV, Assistant Public Defender, appearing for this limited appearance on behalf of Frederick Kemp. Thank you.
Okay, and you're Frederick Kemp?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Kemp, today was the date. We're proceeding on an arraignment. I have a felony complaint here. That complaint alleges that on or about March 10th, 2018, at the area of Waverly Road and Holmes Road, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, that you did allegedly, contrary to law, commit the act in count 1 of controlled substance possession of cocaine, heroin, or other narcotic less than 25 grams. It alleges that you did knowingly or intentionally possess less than 25 grams of a mixture containing the controlled substance heroin, and this is contrary to MCL 333.74032AB. This is a felony, maximum penalty 4 years in prison and/or $25,000 in fines, unless sentenced to more than 1 year in prison. The court shall impose license sanctions pursuant to MCL 333.7408A. This is also the same charge for count 2. Again, controlled substance possession, cocaine, heroin, or narcotic, less than 25 grams. Again, maximum penalty 4 years and/or $25,000 in fines. Do you have any questions about counts 1 and 2 and the maximum penalty?
No, ma'am.
Okay. You have the right to be represented by counsel. Mr. Sartz is representing you today only for your arraignment. You have the right to be represented by an attorney at all of your court appearances, and you have the right to be represented by an attorney if you're questioned by law enforcement. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, you can make a request to have one appointed to represent you at the expense of the public. Do you understand your right to counsel?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You can plead not guilty or you can stand mute, but if you stand mute, the matter will continue all the way to a jury trial. Count 1 and count 2 are both felonies, so you have the right to have a preliminary examination. You have the right to have that examination within 21 days of today's date, unless you waive that timeline or the court finds good cause to go beyond 21 days. At the time of your preliminary examination, you have the right to require the prosecutor put forth evidence to establish probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause to charge you with those crimes. Do you have any questions so far? Mr. Kemp, do you have any questions so far?
No, ma'am.
Okay. You have the right to proceed to jury trial. You have the right to require the prosecutor prove each element of the charge being brought against you beyond a reasonable doubt at your jury trial. You can remain silent at trial and not have silence be used against you, or you can waive your right to silence and testify. You can also call witnesses to testify on your behalf and present evidence at your trial that you believe show a defense to the charge being brought against you. You also have the right to confront and cross-examine any of the witnesses called to testify against you at your trial. You have the right to be considered for pretrial release from custody. We'll address your bond in just a moment, but do you have any questions about your trial rights?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Is he requesting court-appointed counsel?
Yes, Your Honor, and respectfully, we request that Mr. Kemp stand mute and the court enter a plea of not guilty on his behalf. Thank you.
Okay, the court will enter a plea of not guilty and will note that he is requesting court-appointed counsel. Mr. Kemp is currently scheduled for a probable cause conference before Judge Cynthia Ward, March 28th, 2024 at 8:30 in the morning. You can appear via Zoom or in person for that. Preliminary examination is before Judge Ward. That is in person at the court. That's going to be April 5th, 2024 at 8:30 in the morning. Did you get a copy of the notice to appear and Zoom instructions?
Yes, I did.
Are you currently employed?
Yes, ma'am.
Where are you employed?
1910 Food Market.
What's your home address?
It's 2203 West Holmes Road, Lansing, Michigan, 48911.
Your phone number?
I don't know right offhand because I don't have it on me. I've only been using it for a day or two.
Are you currently on probation or on parole?
No, ma'am.
Okay, do you have any other court cases pending?
No.
Counsel, you can address bonds.
Thank you, Your Honor. Respectfully, I would ask for a personal recognizance bond on behalf of Mr. Kemp. He's not a flight risk. He has a stable job in the community. He will comply with all the court's orders. Respectfully, Mr. Kemp is a candidate for a PR bond as well because the charges here are not of an assaultive nature. Thank you.
I don't see any prior criminal history. Bond will be set in the amount of 5,000 personal recognizance. While out on bond, you have the following conditions. You're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You're not to use, purchase, or possess drugs or alcohol without a valid prescription. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. You're not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You need to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of your release. Do you have any questions about your bond, sir?
No, ma'am.
Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
You're all set, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yep. Back to your. Yes. Yeah.
On the record in the matter, the people of the state of Michigan versus Alexis Brown, file number 20-01777 FY, counsel appearance.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Jacob Sarth IV, Assistant Public Defender, appearing on behalf of Ms. Brown for this appearance and this limited appearance only.
Are you Alexis Brown?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Ms. Brown, I do have a felony complaint here, which you're going to be arraigned on. The complaint alleges that on or about February 13, 2020, at 200 East Jolly Road, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, that you did allegedly, contrary to the law, commit the act in count 1 of uttering and publishing. The allegations are that you did utter and publish as true a certain false, forged, altered, or counterfeit record, instrument, or other writing with the intent to injure or defraud, knowing said instrument to be false, altered, forged, or counterfeit. Said instrument more fully described as following: The type of instrument being a check dated February 12, 2020, in the amount of $687.17, drawn on the Michigan State University Federal Credit Union for a payee of Alexis Brown. Drawer or maker being Above and Beyond Property Management LLC, endorsed by an Alexis Brown. This is a felony, and the maximum penalty is 14 years in prison. Do you understand the charge and the maximum penalty attached?
Yes. Yes.
Yep. Okay, you have the right to be represented by an attorney, and Mr. Starks is here to represent you for your arraignment. You do have the right to be represented at each criminal appearance in court, and you have the right to be represented by an attorney if you're questioned by law enforcement. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, you can make a request for the public defender's offices to be appointed to represent you, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
You have the right to plead guilty. You can plead not guilty, or you can stand mute. If you stand mute, the matter will go all the way through to your jury trial. You're being charged with a felony, so that means you have the right to a preliminary examination. You have the right to have that within 21 days of today's date. If you waive that timeline or the court finds good cause, then the date can be reset. You have the right to require the prosecutor put forth sufficient evidence at your preliminary examination to establish probable cause that a crime was committed, and probable cause sufficient to charge you with the crime. Do you have any questions about those rights so far?
No, ma'am.
You have the right to trial, and you have the right to require the prosecutor prove each element of the charge being brought against you beyond a reasonable doubt at your jury trial. You have the right to remain silent at trial and not have silence be used against you. You have the right to see, hear, or question any other witnesses the prosecution intends to call against you, and you have the right to call your own witnesses to trial or present evidence at trial, or waive your silence and testify on your own behalf at your trial. You're currently scheduled for a probable cause conference before me, Judge Kristen Simmons. It's going to be your probable cause conference is going to be March 28th at 1:30 p.m. You can appear via Zoom or in person. Your preliminary examination will be April 5th, 2024 at 8:30 in person at the court. Did you get a copy of your notice to appear in the Zoom instructions for my courtroom?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if you appear via Zoom for your probable cause conference, you must have video and you must be in a position appropriate for court, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and how is she requesting a court-appointed counsel and entering a plea of not guilty, counsel?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. What's your home address, ma'am?
1426 Treadwell. It's in Lansing. The zip code is 48917.
Your phone number?
945-272-5827.
Are you employed?
Yes.
Where's that you're employed?
Tribar Technologies.
Are you currently on probation or on parole?
No, ma'am.
Do you have any other matters pending in court?
No, ma'am.
You said no?
Yes, I said no, ma'am.
You can address bond, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Respectfully, I would ask for a personal recognizance bond on behalf of Ms. Brown. She's the sole caretaker and provider of 3 young children. She has a stable job. She's not a flight risk. She'll make sure that she appears for all future court dates. And to the best of my knowledge, she doesn't have a criminal history. So respectfully, Your Honor, I would request a personal recognizance bond. Thank you.
Okay, bond is set in the amount of 1,000 personal recognizance. While out on bond, the following conditions apply. You need to make sure you come to all of your court dates. You're not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You're not
Yes,
to
ma'am.
travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. You're not to engage in assaultive or threatening behavior, and you're not to use, purchase, or possess marijuana or illegal controlled substance.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any questions for the court?
No, ma'am.
Lastly, you need to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of your release. Unless you have questions for me, you're all set for today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor.
On the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Trachorius Dodd Brown, file number 23-03262, counsel appearance.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Jacob Sarch IV, appearing on behalf of Mr. Dodd Brown for this limited appearance. Thank you.
You're Mr. Trachorius Dodd Brown?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Mr. Dodd Brown, you have a bench warrant because you were supposed to be before Judge Ward back on January 4th, 2024, for your preliminary examination for a weapons charge, but you failed to appear. What happened?
I guess it was a misunderstanding with the hell I was supposed to be there. Because I came there on the 9th, and then they told me that I missed the court date.
You came on the 9th of when?
January.
And who did you speak to?
I spoke to the lady that you they pay tickets to. I don't know. Not nobody like in the courts. I went to where you pay, like, and spoke to her. She told me that I missed the court date or whatnot.
She
Because I
just
sat
left it
there.
there. She said, "Hey, you missed court," and you said, "Okay, well, I'm leaving." I'm confused.
Yeah.
Because if you came on the 9th, you would have had a warrant, and they would have arraigned you on it. That didn't happen.
Oh, it didn't happen. I did come on the 9th though, because it was like I said, it was a misunderstanding.
You came on the 9th, but you didn't speak to a judge on the 9th?
No, ma'am. I spoke to the
Oh, okay.
security guard, and then he directed me to the he directed me to the lady that you pay at the window, and then she informed me all that other stuff.
She probably told you that you had a warrant if you spoke to them, because Judge Ward signed the warrant on the 4th of January. Okay. What's your home address?
I don't have one.
Okay. What's your phone number?
I don't got one of those neither.
Okay. Your matter is going to be reset for a probable cause conference. It says March 28th, 2024 at 8:30 in the morning before Judge Ward. You have a preliminary examination before Judge Ward. It's going to be April 5th, 2024 at 8:30. Counsel, you can address bond.
Thank you, Your Honor. Respectfully, I would request the court to consider granting Mr. Dodd Brown another opportunity out on bond. He's very sorry for the misunderstanding here. As he explained, he tried to turn himself in on the 9th. He does have some housing challenges, but he appears to stay in the local community, and he'll make sure he makes every effort to show up to all his future court dates. He's very sorry for the misunderstanding that happened with his last court date. Thank you.
Okay, this is not his first failure to appear on this particular matter. He can't seem to keep up with his court dates. He sounds like he gets confused. So personal recognizance would not be appropriate. So the court's going to remand him for his preliminary examination.
All right, that's it.
That's it. You're all set.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Which one? Actually, we don't need an interpreter anymore, I believe. Okay. On the record in the matter, the people of the state of Michigan versus Brian Foy. Counsel appearance.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Jacob Sarge IV, Assistant Public Defender, appearing on behalf of Mr. Foy for this appearance and this limited appearance only.
Are you Brian Foy?
Yes, ma'am. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Been better.
I can imagine. Let's see here. Mr. Foy, I have a felony complaint here. It alleges that on or about March 16, 2024, at the area of 401 East Mount Hope, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, you allegedly, contrary to law, committed the act in count 1 of police officer assaulting, resisting, obstructing. The allegations are that you did assault, batter, wound, resist, obstruct, oppose, or endanger Officer Craig Flesser, a police officer of the Lansing Police Department that the defendant knew or had reason to know was performing his duties, and that this was done contrary to MCL 750.81D. It's a felony with a maximum penalty of 2 years and/or $2,000 in fines. A consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement or under the law for another violation arising from the same transaction. Do you understand the charge read there and the maximum penalty?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you have the right in this matter to be represented by an attorney. Mr. Starks is going to represent you today so that you can be arraigned, but you do have the right to have an attorney represent you at each stage of the criminal prosecution on this matter. And you have the right to be represented by an attorney if you're questioned by law enforcement. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, you can request to have the public defender's office represent you at the expense of the public. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
You have the right to have a preliminary examination in this matter, and you have the right to have that exam within 21 days of today's date, unless you waive that timeline or the court finds good cause to go beyond the 21 days. At the time of your exam, you have the right to require the prosecutor put forth sufficient probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause sufficient to charge you with the crime of police officer resisting, obstructing, opposing an officer, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
You have the right to a trial and you have the right to jury trial. You have the right to the presumption of innocence, so you're innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to require the prosecutor prove your guilt at your jury trial. They have to prove each element of the charge being brought against you beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to remain silent at your trial, and silence can't be used against you. You have the right to see, hear, or question any other witnesses that the prosecution calls against you at your trial. You have the right to waive that right to silence at your trial and testify if that's what you want to do. You have the right to present evidence that you believe show a defense to the charge being brought against you. And you have the right to be considered for pretrial release from custody. Do you have any questions about those rights?
Oh, ma'am.
Are you currently on probation or on parole?
No, ma'am.
You're currently scheduled for a probable cause conference before Judge Stacia Buchanan. It's going to be March 28, 2024 at 9:30 in the morning. You can appear via Zoom for that or in person. Your preliminary examination, you must appear in person for, and that's going to be on April 4th, 2024 at 8:30 in the morning before Judge Buchanan, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you get your notice to appear in the Zoom instructions?
Yes.
Okay, let's see. Is he requesting an attorney through the public defender's office?
Yes, Your Honor, and respectfully, Mr. Foy will stand mute and request the court enter plea not guilty on his behalf. Thank you.
The court will enter a plea of not guilty at this time. Mr. Foy, what's your home address?
1027 North Chestnut, Lansing, Michigan, 48906.
Are you employed?
Not at the moment, but April 2nd, I start my training camp. I play professional arena football and I start training camp on April 2nd, so I start my job next month. Oh.
What's your phone number?
689-777-9284.
Have you ever missed court before?
Yes, ma'am, in the past, yes, I have, but I won't anymore.
Why won't you anymore? What's changed?
Really a lot. Learned my lesson by missing court. I'm just being here right now.
How did you learn your lesson by missing court?
Just having warrants out for my arrest for tickets that I should have been taken care of.
Did you turn yourself in on those warrants?
No, ma'am. I didn't know
So
about.
you didn't-
I didn't know.
So you didn't learn your lesson then, is what you're saying?
I didn't know about the ticket. I didn't know about the ticket warrants. I only knew about the other warrant. They told me about the ticket warrants last night.
Okay.
I thought it took care of.
What other warrant?
I'm not sure. It's on these. I know it's two papers that said I had some warrants. And I believe they're from tickets in 2000.
You don't have any other matters pending outside of this court?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I do have people of the city of Lansing versus Brian Foy, file number 20-00619, and then 20L2556343 and 20-00620. Okay, so there's a furnishing false information. That's the 620 file. It looks like you were supposed to be before Judge Buchanan back on July 28th. You failed to appear. You were supposed to be before her May 26, 2020. You failed to appear.
Yeah.
That's also the same for the equipment violation ticket and the driving while license is suspended. And so you've been in warrant for those three files?
Yes. Can I be honest? To be honest with you, Your Honor, I actually thought I took care of those tickets because they're so long ago. So I thought I had took care of all that, but obviously I didn't.
What made you think you took care of that?
Because I went to court, I believe once. It's been so long. That's what I'm saying.
So just Just going to court means you took care of it?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and your address is the exact same address that it was then, so you would have received your notices to appear after she reset it 2 and 3 times, correct?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
So you knew you didn't take care of it because you received notices. And you already told me that you knew you had warrants and you didn't turn yourself in. Counsel, you can address bond.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, to Mr. Foy's credit, he's been very candid and very honest with Your Honor. He certainly understands the problems that he's caused himself by his poor choices in terms of appearing for court. But to his credit, the charges here are of the less, I mean, they're serious, but they're on the lower side of, the range in terms of these types of situations. Respectfully, he does have a stable place to stay in the community. He does have potentially a good job that he'll be starting fairly soon. He also provides support for 3 children, and he has connections to the community, certainly deep connections. And respectfully, this has been a real wake-up call for him, and he has learned his lesson, and he's very sorry for these missed court dates. And I would respectfully request that he be given another opportunity for either a personal recognizance bond, or if he's not eligible for that, for a low cash bond, Your Honor. Thank you.
Yes. And Your Honor, and my job is one of the reasons why I would not miss court. I have to make it to my job, so I will not miss anything. I'll be there soon. In person, it doesn't matter. I will be there.
Your job is in the state of Michigan?
No.
Sounds like a flight risk.
Well, I won't be. I will make it to court, promise you.
Just even the allegations, although you're presumed to be innocent, if true, these allegations don't cause me to believe that you want to come to court or handle your matters, because the allegations from just earlier this morning were just the contrary to that. And so I need to know what would make me think that if I give you a personal recognizance bond, you're going to leave the state for work in a couple of weeks, and then you're going to come back to take care of matters that were pending since 2020. It's now 2024. Even though you knew they were pending, you knew that they were not taken care of because you got several notices on them, and one of which involves an allegation of you providing false information to the court or to an officer. So I just want to understand, why am I supposed to believe that you're going to be, you had a life-changing interaction between yesterday and today?
Because, Your Honor, I don't want to be standing before you like this again ever in my life, to be honest. So I'm going to do everything by the book and how I'm supposed to do it. Whatever I got to do to get it done, I'm going to get it done, because I don't want to be in this position right now. Like I have.
Okay. You said you're employed playing football. Is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am. I play professional football. We play on NFL Network this season. And with the what is it, on the 4th? It says the preliminary exam is on the 4th. I will just report late. I'll report there late after the exam.
You report where late?
To training camp if I can, you know.
And what happens when they say you can't?
I'm saying if y'all, they will. If y'all will let me after the 4th.
You would have to waive your right to a preliminary exam within 21 days. That's between you and your attorney at your probable cause conference, but you first got to be appearing in court. That's the issue, sir. You don't appear in court.
I will
and then
there,
after you don't appear, you're letting months go by before. What team are you supposed to be playing on?
The Oregon Black Bears in the AFL.
So you're going to be living in Oregon.
Yes, and to be honest, when I didn't come to court, I was young. I'm 33 now. I know I did something dumb last night. That was very dumb of me, but I'm still
Well,
learning.
we don't know what you did last night because you're innocent until proven guilty. And so I also told you that you had the right to remain silent, and anything you say about last night could be used against you. But what I'm going to advise you is that you're 33. These cases are from 4 years ago. You weren't that young.
Okay, you're right.
And
Right.
how many children do you have?
I have 3.
And are any of them over the age of 10?
Yes.
Those are young. They're young. Okay. If you had committed these actions and you were 19 or 20 or 21, I'd let you use that excuse. But you're not going to tell me as a 29-year-old man who was a father at the time can use the excuse that he was young. No, you're an adult and you knew how to make children and you knew how to make these tickets. You need to address them.
You're absolutely right.
Who also lives at this address of 1027 North Chestnut?
My mother.
So you're supposed to go to training camp, and then when are you expected to be back in Michigan?
At the end of the season for June. In June, they bring me out there. They house me, they feed me, and they pay me. So they pay for my housing there while I'm there from April to June, and then that's how I'm back here. But I'm gonna be honest, I'm trying to.
So essentially, you're already telling the court you're not appearing for a preliminary examination.
No, I am. That's what I'm telling you. I'm coming to the preliminary.
You'll be in training camp.
The preliminary exams is the 4th, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, and training camp start the 2nd. So I will tell them I'm coming later because I have court. My coach will understand. I'm going to take care of this first before I go anywhere.
Bond is set at 10,000 personal recognizance on the felony matter. As to the furnishing false information, your bond is set at 1,000 cash surety. Your driving while license is suspended. Bond is set at 500 personal recognizance. I'm looking for one for different. Oh, and then there was, I think this is an equipment violation. That's actually a default, so you owe money on that. You had a default equipment violation, so your fine is about $155 because there's a penalty on there.
Okay.
When are you gonna pay that?
It's today. Today's Sunday or Saturday?
Saturday.
Today's Saturday.
I can pay it by Wednesday at the latest, if that's fine.
Okay, this is what I'll do. You have a probable cause conference before Judge Buchanan. On the 28th, you'll pay your ticket by the 28th.
Okay.
You're also going to need to address your timeline on the 28th so that you don't end up in warrant status while you're at training camp. Do you understand that?
I'm not gonna be there on the 28th. I'm gonna still be here.
No, that's what I said. You're gonna have to address the timeline at the 28th hearing. You and your attorney are
Oh.
gonna need to make sure that you waive your 21 days so that it can be reset till after you come back.
Okay. I understand what you
Okay.
said now. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any additional matters? Well, let me go over your bond conditions, obviously. I'm gonna have to allow you to leave the state while out on bond for the purposes of training camp. And work. You're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You're not to purchase or possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You need to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of your release. You're not to use, purchase, or possess alcohol or drugs without a valid prescription. It sounds like you have a pretty good opportunity to get your life on track. It's up to you if you want to throw it away over these kinds of actions. That's up to you, sir. Okay?
Right. I have one question or two. You said pretrial, I'll report to pretrial within 48
Pretrial
hours. What's that?
services. You have to call pretrial services within 48 hours. The jail will give you a brochure that provides you with how you contact them, because you have to check in with them while you're on bond, okay? If you don't, that's a bond violation. And you don't want a bond violation. What you want is to get these matters resolved as quickly as possible so that you can move on with your future. That's what you want, correct?
Yes, ma'am. And with this being a felony, there's no way that I could go through a program or nothing to get this off of my record. It's gonna be
You gotta
stuck with
talk-
me.
Yeah.
You gotta talk to your attorney about what the options are. You've not been convicted of a felony at this point. You're being charged with a felony. Okay?
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any
Okay.
other questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Okay, on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Dilly Bahadur Bassett. Council appearance.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Jacob Sarge, the fourth Assistant Public Defender, appearing on behalf of Mr. Bassett for this limited appearance. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me, Mr. Bassett?
How are you, ma'am?
I'm well, how are you?
I'm good, ma'am.
Okay. Let's see. I have a misdemeanor complaint here, sir. It states that on or about March 15th, 2024 at 1936 Bowker Drive, which is in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, you did allegedly commit the act in count 1 of domestic violence. It alleges that you made an assault or assault and battery upon a Don Gurung, a resident or former resident of your household or your spouse, and that you did this contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.812. That is a misdemeanor with a maximum penalty of 93 days in jail and or $500 in fines, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Do you understand the charge, sir?
Yeah, I understand, but I don't know how much charge, and I don't understand a 93-day jail, but I don't understand. I'm confused.
Yeah, the 93 days is the maximum you can be sentenced to if you're convicted. Do you understand that?
So I don't understand one thing. Like in today, I can't go home or what? That's one.
We'll talk about bond.
I'm telling you about what your maximum sentence is if you're convicted, but
okay.
you're not convicted right now. You're
Okay, I got
only
you.
being charged at this point, okay?
Okay, I get you, ma'am. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. I'm here to help you understand, and if you don't understand, I want you to tell me, okay?
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
No problem. So you do have a few rights. You have the right to be represented by an attorney. And Mr. Sartz is representing you today for today's hearing, which is just the arraignment. That's when we go over the charges and the maximum penalty, okay? We also will discuss your bond, and we'll do that at the end of the hearing. I'm going to advise you of rights. And so you have the right to be represented by an attorney at all of your court dates on this case. And you can request to have a public defender appointed to represent you if you can't afford to hire an attorney, okay?
Okay.
You have the right to the presumption of innocence. You're innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to remain silent and not have silence be used against you, but also understanding that up until your trial, anything you say, especially today, can be used against you, okay?
Okay.
You have the right to plead guilty. You can plead not guilty, or you can stand mute. If you stand mute, the matter will proceed to a trial, and you have the right to a trial by jury. You have the right to see, hear, or question in court at your jury trial any witness the prosecution calls against you. You have the right to call your own witnesses to trial. You have the right to present evidence at trial that you believe show a defense to the charge of domestic violence. Do you understand those rights? I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, that one like I don't did anything like I'm like almost like 10 years something like I'm married and still I don't have my
Sir,
child.
yeah.
So,
All she's asking you is you understand that you have the right to eventually go to a trial, and she's just explaining your rights in a general sense. You understand?
yeah,
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
yep,
Do
I
you
understand.
understand? You understand, sir?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You have no problem. You have a pretrial conference before Judge Buchanan. Your next court date before her will be April 1st at 10 a.m.
Okay.
Did you get a paper that has that court date on it?
Yeah, how much I pay?
Excuse me?
How much I pay?
Sir, did you
No,
get that?
you answer my question. Do you have a paper with the court date on it?
So
He does, Your Honor.
He
I
doesn't
don't
have
know.
a clue what I'm talking about, though. He's the gentleman that needs an interpreter?
No, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
What language do you speak, sir?
I speak Nepali, but lot thing, little bit, I don't understand lot thing I talk, so that's why little bit lot thing, little bit typical word, lot thing I understand.
Okay, well, you don't understand what I'm saying today, do you?
Yeah, I understand. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what did I just ask you?
You asked me about like how much you pay like in the planting.
I've not asked you a single question about how much you pay for anything.
Oh, I pay like myself like in my house rent, like in
See,
my
I've
car.
not asked him that, and so either he doesn't understand the language or there's a cognitive issue going on. Either way, we're not communicating well. So I'm going to have to recall him at the end. He can have a seat.
Just gonna have a seat. I think they're gonna get an interpreter.
Okay, on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Bartholomew Lino, counsel appearance.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Jacob Sarge IV, Assistant Public Defender, here on behalf of Mr. Lino for this limited appearance. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Lino, can you step forward, please? Okay, Today's the date that we're proceeding on an arraignment. I have a misdemeanor complaint here. It alleges that on or about March 16th, 2024, at the area of 3220 North Waverly Road, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, that you allegedly committed the act of domestic violence. It alleges that you made an assault or assault and battery upon a Raven Perkins, who is an individual with whom you have a child in common, or a resident or former resident of your household, or an individual with whom you had a dating relationship, and that this is contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.812. That's a misdemeanor. The maximum penalty is 93 days and or $500 in fines, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under MCL 750.506A if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Do you understand the charge and the maximum penalty, Mr. Lino?
Yes, ma'am.
You have the right to be represented by an attorney. Mr. Sarch is going to represent you today to be arraigned, but you have the right to have an attorney with you to represent you at all of your court appearances. And you have the right to be represented by counsel if you're questioned by law enforcement. If you can't afford to hire an attorney, you can request the public defender's office be appointed to represent you. Do you understand that right to counsel?
Yes, ma'am.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You can plead not guilty, or you can stand mute. If you stand mute, the matter will continue all the way to a jury trial. You have the right to the presumption of innocence. So you're innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to require the prosecutor prove your guilt at trial by proving each element of the charge being brought against you beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to see, hear, or question any witness the prosecutor calls against you at your trial. You have the right to call your own witnesses to testify on your behalf at trial, or you can waive your right and testify on your own behalf. And you can present evidence that you believe show a defense to the charge being brought against you. You have the right to require the prosecutor prove each element of domestic violence beyond a reasonable doubt at your trial. Do you have any questions about those rights, sir?
No, ma'am.
Is he requesting court-appointed counsel?
Yes, Your Honor, and respectfully, we request the court that and plead not guilty on his behalf. Mr. Lino will stand mute. Thank you.
You're currently scheduled for a pre-trial before Judge Cynthia Ward, reading this backwards, April 2nd, not February 2nd, 2024 at 10 a.m. Did you get a copy of the notice to appear for Judge Ward for April 2nd?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you get Zoom instructions for Judge Ward?
Yes, ma'am.
What's your home address?
3220 North Waverly Road.
Okay. Is that where Raven Perkins lives?
Yeah, we live in the same house.
Okay, well, you can't live in the same house while this case is pending, so where are you gonna live?
I can live to my mama's house.
What's your mom's address?
522. I just know the home address, but it's like in downtown, close by the capital city. It's like Genesee Road.
522 Genesee?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there an apartment?
No, it's a house.
What's your phone number?
I just got my phone. I don't really remember my phone number. I'm so sorry.
It's like the third person today who didn't know their phone number. It used to be like basic elementary stuff. You remember your phone number. People don't do that anymore, huh?
Nah, I just got this phone like 2 weeks ago. I don't really never be paying attention to the phone number like that.
Are you currently on probation or on parole?
No, ma'am.
Do you have any other court dates pending?
I only got jury duty on 18. That's it.
You can address bond counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Respectfully, I would ask for a personal recognizance bond on behalf of Mr. Lino if he's eligible. He's not a flight risk at all. He has a stable place to stay with his mother. I believe that location would be outside of any potential contact zone with the old residents, but I don't have the map data in front of me, but it should be a sufficient enough distance that there's an ability for Mr. Lino to successfully stay away from that area and stay away from that location. Respectfully, he does have connections to the community. He's not a flight risk. You know, he's lived here approximately 7 years. So for those reasons, I would respectfully request a personal recognizance bond. Thank you. Oh, he has a stable job as well, Your Honor. My apologies.
Where are you working, sir?
Interior.
You said interior?
Yes, ma'am.
What is that?
It's a recycling place in Pennsylvania.
Okay. Bond is set in the amount of 500 personal recognizance. While out on bond, there's a no contact order in place to protect the alleged victim, Raven Perkins. So you're not to have contact directly or indirectly with Raven Perkins. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am. I got a question real quick.
Yes.
What about if I see my keys? Can I see my keys? Because we got keys together.
Yeah, I didn't say you couldn't see your kids. I said you can't have contact with her directly or indirectly.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
okay. I'm so sorry.
Okay, so I'll allow you to have third party contact, meaning you can have somebody else get the kids for you, okay?
Okay.
But again, your contact cannot be assaultive or threatening. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
And it must be through a third party. You can't talk to her directly during the pendency of this matter. And you can only talk about childcare. You understand that?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, you're not to be at the address of 3220 North Waverly Road while this matter is pending. I will allow you to go once with law enforcement to get some of your items, okay?
Okay.
You're not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You're not to use alcohol, marijuana, or illegal substances. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. And you need to report to all of your court dates, okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Do you have any questions about your bond?
Not really.
Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
Oh, Your Honor, thank you.
You're all set, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Michael Yates, file number 23-02569. Counsel appearance.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Jacob Starks the fourth, Assistant Public Defender here on behalf of Mr. Yates for this limited appearance only. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Yates, how are you today?
I'm doing good.
Okay. Okay, so today was the date that we continued your arraignment. We did attempt to go through it yesterday, and you have a felony complaint for retail fraud alleging that on or about July 7, 2023, while Lowe's was open to the public, you did allegedly steal property of the store that was offered for sale at the price of $1,000 or more, contrary to MCL 750.56C. That's a felony. The maximum penalty is 5 years and or $10,000 or 3 times the value difference in price of the stolen property obtained or attempted to be obtained, whichever is greater. Do you understand the charge and the maximum penalty?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and we've gone over your rights, but I'll review them with you again. And you have the right to a preliminary examination within 21 days of today's date. You have the right to require the prosecutor put forth evidence to establish probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause to charge you with the crime. You're currently scheduled for probable cause conference before Judge Tony Flores on March 28th, 2024 at 8:30. And you have a preliminary examination before Judge Flores on April 4th at 8:30. You have the right to a jury trial. You have the right to require the prosecutor prove each element of retail fraud first degree beyond a reasonable doubt at your trial. You have the right to cross-examine any witness in court that the prosecution calls against you. You can present evidence or subpoena witnesses to your trial to testify on your behalf and present evidence that you believe show a defense to your charge being brought against you. You have the right to remain silent at trial and not have silence be used against you. Do you have any questions about those rights?
No, ma'am.
You can also waive your right to silence at your trial and you can testify. You provided the court with information yesterday that you did not have a valid address, you were currently unemployed, and you gave us a phone number. Do you have any other matters pending right now in any other courts?
No, ma'am.
Okay, you're not on probation or on parole, are you?
Yes, I am on probation in Livingston County.
What are you on probation for?
I am on probation for retail fraud.
For how long?
2 years. I should be off. This is my last year.
Oh. Because I don't have a criminal history attached to this file. Counsel, you can address bond.
Thank you, Your Honor. Respectfully, if he's eligible for either a personal recognizance bond or low cash bond, and my apologies, Your Honor, I don't have his full criminal history either, but if he's eligible, I would request either a personal recognizance bond or low cash bond for him. Respectfully, he would like to get out to Livingston County, get those matters resolved. He assures me that he will show up for all his future court dates, that he won't miss any court dates in the future. He's learned a lot from going through this process recently. He understands the importance of complying with the court's orders, and has some challenges right now in terms of his personal life, but he's going to work on those, and he'll try to get a job and try to get some stable living circumstances if he's given the opportunity to be released, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. The crime alleged is not assaultive in nature. I don't really have his criminal history. I just know based off what he tells me that he is on probation, but it does not sound like he was under probation, of course, when this allegedly, well, maybe he was. He said he's got 1 year left. I'll leave that to his probation in Livingston County if they're going to violate him for a new matter. I don't know if he's got any holds or anything. Nonetheless, bond is set in the amount of 500 personal recognizance. You need to report to all of your court dates. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm requiring that you undergo periodic urinalysis testing as part of your bond conditions. But not to exceed 1 time a month. You need to get prior permission of the court before you can leave the state. You're not to use, purchase, or possess alcohol or drugs without valid prescription. You're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You're not to possess a firearm or other dangerous weapon. Do you have any questions about your bond?
No, ma'am.
Any additional matters for the record?
Oh, no, Your Honor. Thank you.
You're all set, sir.
Thank you.
No, and my apologies, Your Honor, if my memory just slipped on him, but, he did request a public defender for that file. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, yeah, I had that yesterday, that he requested court-appointed counsel and public defender.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Let's see, for Mr. Lino, wait, not Lino. Mr. Bassnett, do we need to try to get him? I'll let you go in a private meeting room and assess if we need to get language line on there.
Yeah, Your Honor, I was able to meet with him earlier and I got my intake done. So I have the information I need. If you'd like to have language line, we'll get him a poly interpreter, and that way we can just knock out the arraignment. I mean, he does seem to be able to converse and seem to have some okay understanding, but at the same time, like, it probably would help him to have a translator for the purposes of the arraignment. But I got the information I need. He's going to qualify for a public defender and everything. So.
Okay. Okay, back on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Dilly Bassnett. Yes, sir. Okay, would you like an interpreter, sir?
Yeah, if you want, it's okay. I'm fine.
Right. Okay, he seems, like this. When people want to sit around all day, maybe so he's like going around and ask all stuff, all like, no. Okay, please go.
But not another side.
Okay, can you hear me in the jail? I couldn't hear the jail. Can you hear us in the jail?
Yes, ma'am.
I can hear you, if you can hear me.
Now I can hear them.
Thank you. I have a poly interpreter on the line. Can the interpreter state your name and ID again?
Hi, this is Benu. My name is Benuka, ID 264246.
Thank you. Can I have you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly
Yes,
swear or affirm that you will interpret in the matter before the court completely and accurately and not divulge confidential communication, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Bassnett, we started your arraignment.
हजुर बस्नेत जी मैले बोलेको सुन्दै हुनुहुन्छ हाम्रो यहाँ अरेन्जमेन्टको प्रक्रियामा पुरा गर्दैछौँ.
And I advise you.
We can hear.
Okay, I advise you that you have a misdemeanor domestic violence.
तल्लो दर्जाको एउटा घरेसी हिंसा भन्ने खालको अभियोग लागेको छ।
It alleges that March 15, 2024,
मार्च 15 2024 को दिनमा
at 1936,
हजुर 1936 अथवा 36 मा
Bowker Drive,
बालकोट ड्राइभ
City of Lansing,
ल्यान्सिङ सिटीमा
Ingham County,
यस इङ्गम काउन्टी हजुर
State of Michigan,
मिशिगन स्टेटमा
that you made an assault or assault and battery
हजुरले अब त्यो जुन अर्कालाई असल्ट गर्नु भएको अथवा होच्याउनु भएको भन्ने किसिमको र भनाभन
upon a Don Gurung,
धन गुरुङलाई
a resident or former resident
पहिलाको अथवा अहिले बस्दै गरेको वासस्थानमा
of your household
घर परिवार
or your spouse.
अथवा हजुरको श्रीमती
This is a misdemeanor.
यो हजुरको सामान्य तहको आरोप हो अपराध हो
The maximum penalty
यसको बेसीमा अब पेनल्टी भन्ने
is 93 days
93 दिन
and or $500.
अथवा 93 दिन जेल अथवा $500 जरिवाना हुन सक्छ बढीमा।
Do you have any questions about the charge or the penalty?
हजुर यस सम्बन्धीमा हजुरको यो अभियोग के लागेको छ भन्ने बारेमा केही प्रश्न छ?
त्यो 500 तिरेर नि हामी जेलमा बस्नु पर्छ त्यो सोध्नु न।
So if I put that $500 bond, can I get released or not?
We're not talking about bond right now. We're talking about the charge.
हजुर अहिले अभियोग मात्रै लागेको कुरा गर्दैछौँ बढीमा यस्तो हुन सक्छ भन्ने त्यो हजुरको धरौटीको बारेमा कुरा आउँदैछ।
ए त्यो त मैले नबुझेको ठिकै छ ल ठिकै छ म दिन्छु म रेडी छु।
Okay, I understand.
Okay. So do you have any questions about the charge or the maximum penalty?
हजुर बेसीमा यति हुन सक्छ भनेको हो यो हुन्छ भनेको होइन यस सम्बन्धमा केही प्रश्न छ अहिले हामीले भनेको कुरामा नबुझ्नु भएको?
छैन त्यस्तो केही त्यस्तो छैन।
No, I don't.
Okay. You have a pre-trial conference.
हजुरको अब प्री ट्रायल गर्ने भनेर कन्फरेन्स बनाएको रहेछ।
Before Judge Stacia Buchanan.
हजुर जज क्याननलाई भेट्नुभन्दा अगाडि
It's going to be April 1st
अप्रिलको पहिलो तारिखमा
at 10 a.m.
10 बजेको लागि।
He has his notice to appear.
हजुर तपाईँ आउनुहुन्छ नि त्यो सूचना पाउनु भएको छ?
म आउँछु यहाँ पेपर त छ म आउँछु म एउटा पनि मिस गर्दिन आउँछु।
Yes, of course I will.
Okay, thank you. Oh. Do you live at the address of 1936 Bowker?
हजुर बस्ने ठेगाना त्यही
त्यही हो मेरो अब त्यहाँ बस्न मिल्छ मिल्दैन अब के छ?
Yes, that is my address. So am I allowed to stay in that address?
Not if that's where Don Gurung lives.
अनि धन गुरुङ पनि त्यही बस्नुहुन्छ?
ऊ अहिले त्यही छ नभए म मेरो साथीकोमा बस्छु अब साथीकोमा बस्छु साथीको घर छ साथीकोमा बस्छु।
Yeah, she also lives there. So if I'm not allowed to go there, I can go to my friend's house.
Okay, what's the address?
साथीकोमा जानु ठाउँ छ भने ठेगाना?
एड्रेस नामै थाहा छैन एड्रेस अगाडिको थाहा छ 2800 थाहा 218 होइन त्यो मेन नामै थाहा छैन के इना पुलिस हो त्यो स्टेट चाहिँ होइन अनि त्यो नाम चाहिँ मलाई यति मेक स्योर छैन त्यो नि म उनीहरूलाई एड्रेस मलाई जसले पठाइदिएछ नम्बरमा ट्याक्स गरिदिनु म उसलाई मेरो नम्बरमा अहिले जाने बित्तिकै ट्याक्स गरिदिनु कि मेरो त्यो एड्रेस त्यो साथीको
I don't know the exact address right now, 2800 that I know, but whenever I get that text message, I can give it to the judge.
Okay. You have the right to have a attorney represent you.
यदि हजुरले वकिल बनाउँछु भन्न चाहनुहुन्छ भने त्यो पनि अधिकार हुन्छ.
If you can't afford to hire an attorney,
यदि तपाईले आफूले वकिल हायर गर्न सक्नुहुन्न भने सुन्दै जानुहोस् पहिला.
one can be appointed to represent you.
हजुर यदि हजुरले आफूले हायर गर्न सक्नुहुन्न भने चाहिँ हाम्रो यहाँ अदालतबाट नै पनि दिइन्छ निशुल्क.
अझै यहीँबाट दिएको छ भने किन बनाउने?
Yes, I would like to use a court-appointed attorney.
I will note that here. You have the right to remain silent.
हजुर तपाईं नबोलिकन बस्न पाउने अधिकार हुन्छ. हामी यहाँ नोट राखिदिन्छौँ हजुर यिनको लिन चाहने भनेर.
Anything you say,
तपाईले जे बोल्नुहुन्छ,
anything you put in writing,
लिखित रूपमा कुनै कुरा दिनुभयो भने
can be used against you.
हजुरको विपक्षको लागि अब त्यो प्रमाणको अगाडि बढ्न सक्छ अथवा कुरा हुन सक्छ.
You have the right to trial.
हजुरले म ट्रायलमा अगाडि बढ्छु भनेर भन्न पाउने अधिकार हुन्छ.
At the time of your jury trial, you have the right to the presumption of innocence.
हजुर पहिला ट्रायलमा जाने अनि त्यसपछि अगाडि बढ्छु भन्न पाउने अधिकार हुन्छ.
You have the right to require the prosecutor prove your guilt.
मेरो गल्ती होइन भनेर जुन प्रवक्तालाई भनेर अगाडि बढ्न पाउने अधिकार हुन्छ.
You have the right to require them to prove each element of the charge of domestic violence.
के कुराहरू अब हिंसा भएको भनेर उहाँहरूले आरोप लगाउनुहुन्छ त्यो चाहिँ पुरै यो यसो हो भनेर प्रमाणित गर्ने अधिकार हुन्छ.
Beyond a reasonable doubt.
यदि कुनै कुरामा चाहिँ अब डाउट भयो अथवा शंका लाग्यो भने
you have the right to cross-examine, which means question any of the witnesses.
अब त्यस्तो भयो भने प्रत्यक्षदर्शीलाई उहाँलाई चाहिँ हजुरले प्रश्नहरू सोध्ने मौका पाउनुहुन्छ.
You have the right to call your own witnesses to trial.
तपाईले त्यो ट्रायलमा हजुरको कोही प्रत्यक्षदर्शी हजुरको तर्फबाट बोल्दिने हुनुहुन्छ भने उहाँलाई पनि बोलाउन पाउनुहुन्छ.
And you can remain silent at trial and not have it used against you.
हजुर आफू नबोलिकन बस्ने वकिलले जे भन्नुहुन्छ त्यही अनुसार गर्ने भनेर बस्न पाउने पनि अधिकार हुन्छ.
Does he have any questions?
केही छ प्रश्न यस सम्बन्धमा?
यसमा त छैन त्यस्तो केही क्वेसन सबै ठिकै राम्रो लाग्यो सबै ठिकै छ त्यस्तो मैले भन्नु पनि त्यही छैन. अब बुढाबुढीको झगडा हो अब यो अब यहाँको केस अनुसार चल्ने अनि अब के हुन्छ हेर्दै जाऊ न.
No, I don't. So I understand everything. We had a little bit altercation with husband and wife, and
okay, let me stop him.
It happened up
Let me
here.
stop him because he has the right to remain silent. So I don't want him to say anything that can be used against him.
अहिले बोलेका कुराहरू पछि फेरि हजुरको विपक्षमा बोल्ने त्यही प्रयोग गर्ने हुन सक्छ. अब सुनेर मात्र बस्ने नबोल्ने गर्दा राम्रो होला.
ल सरी.
The court will enter a plea of not guilty on his behalf.
हजुर त्यसो भए मैले हजुरको तर्फबाट मैले जानेर गल्ती गरेको होइन भनेर अगाडि बढ्छु.
Counsel, you can address bond.
Thank you, Your Honor. Respectfully, I request that the court grant Mr. Bassnett a personal recognizance bond.
हजुर मैले चाहिँ जमानत अब मौखिक रूपमा जमानत बस्ने भनेर अनुरोध गरेको छु.
Mr. Bassnett has a job in the community.
I apologize, interpreter can hardly hear.
Can you repeat that for the interpreter?
Thank you. Mr. Bassnett has a job in the community.
हजुरले त्यही काम गर्नुहुन्छ त्यही समुदायमा?
जब गरेँ आज पनि मेरो ड्युटी छ नि।
Yes, I do. Today also I need to go to work.
Mr. Bassnett has a place to stay in the community with his friend.
तपाईँ त्यही समुदायमा बस्नुहुन्छ?
कस्तो के समुदाय भनेको?
हजुर त्यही समुदायमा भनेको त्यही समाजमा बस्नुहुन्छ?
त्यही समाजमा।
Yes, I do.
He promises the court that he will appear at all of his future court dates and comply with the court's orders.
अदालतले जे आदेश दिन्छ म त्यो पालना गर्छु भनेर प्रतिज्ञा गर्नुहुन्छ?
गर्छु।
Yes, I do.
Thank you. I respectfully request a personal recognizance bond for Mr. Bassnett.
हजुर बस्नेतज्यू अहिलेलाई हजुरलाई मौखिक रूपमा साथी भनेको अहिले धरौटी राख्नु परेन तर जमानत चाहिँ समयमा भनेको बेलामा आउँछु भनेर बस्यौं।
म उनीहरूले भनेको टाइम कहिले पनि मिस गर्दिनँ उनीहरूले गरेको टाइम फलो गर्छु अहिले म।
Yes, I will follow the instruction. I will not miss any appointment.
Where is he employed?
हजुरले केमा काम गर्नुहुन्छ?
मायरमा।
apologize. सुनिन बुझिन।
मायर।
Meyer? I work in Meyer.
Okay. A bond is set at 500 personal recognizance.
हजुर 500 चाहिँ अब अहिले मौखिक रूपमा जमानत बस्ने तर यदि भनेको मानेन भन्नाले उल्लङ्घन गर्यो भने भन्ने हो त्यो 500
with GPS tether.
GPS लगाएर.
You're not to be within 1,500 feet.
हजुर 1500 फिट भन्दा उहाँको नजिक जस्तो 1500 फिट भन्दा अगाडि जानु भएन।
Of Don Gurung.
धन गुरुङको नजिक जानु भएन 1500 फिटको वरिपरिमा।
You're not to have contact directly.
हजुरले डाइरेक्ट उहाँसँग सम्पर्क गर्नु भएन।
Or indirectly.
अथवा अरु कुनै माध्यमबाट अरुलाई तु भन्देऊ न भनेर यसरी पनि कुरा गर्नु भएन।
Don Gurung.
धन गुरुङसँग।
You're not to possess a firearm.
हजुरले आफूले बन्दुकहरु बोक्नु भएन।
Or any other weapon.
अथवा अरु कुनै हात हतियारहरु।
You're not to travel outside the state.
अब यो स्टेट छोडेर राज्य छोडेर अन्त जानु भएन यो टुङ्गो नलागुन्जेल।
Without permission of the court.
अदालतले अनुमति नदिएसम्म।
You're not to use drugs or alcohol.
रक्सी अथवा कुनै लागू औषधहरु सेवन गर्नु भएन।
You're not to engage in assaultive or threatening behavior.
कसैलाई पनि नराम्रो व्यवहारहरु गर्ने आक्षेप लगाउने त्यस्ता खालका व्यवहार गर्नु भएन।
And you must come to all of your court dates.
अनि यहाँका कोर्ट डेटहरुमा नियमित आउनु पर्यो।
Do you have any questions?
हजुर यति कुरा गर्छु भनेर प्रतिज्ञा गर्नुहुन्छ केही छ प्रश्न?
छैन प्रतिज्ञा म रेडी छु यसमा केही छैन त्यसमा।
No question. I'll follow those guidelines. So no question.
Thank you. Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
अरु केही छैन भन्नुभयो?
छैन त्यस्तो अरु केही।
Yes, I don't have either.
Very good. Thank you.
हस् त ल धन्यवाद राम्रो होस् शुभकामना।
धन्यवाद तपाईलाई।
Thank you.
Thank you to the interpreter as well.
You are welcome. Thank you for using our services. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. I think that's all we have.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sarts.
Thank you, Your Honor.